Hello, everybody. Hello to those of you who are watching. Hello, Greg. Good afternoon.
Howdy.
Good morning. Good whatever time it is now for you all, wherever you are on the continent. We are here to talk bird identification, bird ding, any of that with you. So I am Nate Swick. I host the American Birding Podcast, as well as do some other digital communication stuff here for the ABA. Greg Neise is our web master, web person, web czar, whatever title you want to give him with web at the beginning of it. And we are here to take your questions about birds, birding, bird ID. So we are live on a number of the ABA's
Okay.
social media platforms. Have you got some feedback there, Greg? We're here on a number. We are live on a number of ABA's social media platforms. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter, and we are in the.
Sorry, there. I've got a little feedback issue I'm trying to work through. Just give me 1 second.
All right. So Greg has got some feedback issues, so I'm just going to vamp for a while. I hope you guys have had a great 2 weeks. We are here in the middle of summer. It is now officially summer with the solstice past us, and now it's time for fall migration, folks. Birds are heading south. We're actually going to talk a little bit about that on some of the birds that we have lined up for you all on the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to share a little bit. But if you have any questions about bird ID, birding, bird watching, bird anything, please just send those to us in the comments on any of the places that you are watching, and we would be happy to answer those questions for you to the best of our ability. Greg, are you
Okay.
good?
I'm good now. I had
All
to.
right.
I had to unwrap my headphones, which were caught. Anyways, we're all good now.
We're all good now. Greg, how is the birding up in Chicago way?
Oh, it's summer.
Yeah.
And everything's. It's summer in the Midwest, and there have been a few vagrants showing up. We still have ibis, white-faced ibis, about here and there, which is kind of interesting. I'm hoping at some point soon we'll find them breeding in the state,
Cool.
probably downstate on the Illinois River somewhere. And of course, the summer story that seems to be happening everywhere is black-bellied whistling ducks.
Yeah, once again.
I mean, it's amazing. It is absolutely stunning how this species that was, not all that easy to get in South Texas when I was a kid is now everywhere.
They are everywhere. That is absolutely true. And here in the Southeast, things are very similar. It is summer. There is the only birds that are singing these days are all the breeders and red-eyed vireos. I did take a walk with my family this morning at the military park here in Greensboro, and there were a couple of wood thrushes singing, which was very nice. But other than that, it's been slow. Birds are looking sloppy. A lot of molt. A lot of rough-looking birds. And of course, now that the summer solstice has passed, we can start looking forward to fall migration, because fall migration starts. It's already going. It's already going on.
Shorebirds are already going.
Shorebirds are moving, and we've got some other birds that are coming down south as well. But if you've got any questions about birds or bird ID, please leave them in the comments. We'd be happy to take a crack at them. Otherwise, we have got a few.
Sean Milnes pops in saying that
Hey,
the black-bellied whistling ducks are everywhere but Connecticut. Just
That's up there,
just
though.
go have some coffee and wait. They'll be there. They'll show up.
Yeah, Sean has been part of a big Twitter conversation that we've been having this morning about changing bird names. Perhaps we can talk a little bit about that later. There's been a lot of talk about reevaluating how we, as a nation, look at some of the less glorious aspects of our history, having to do with colonialism and the Civil War and things like that. And birds are no different. We have some birds that are named after some people who are not the greatest human beings on the planet, certainly not by 21st century standards. And the question that comes up is, do we change those names? Can we change those names? How do we change those names? What do we change them to? A lot of good questions, and a lot of that has been happening on Twitter. Hashtag bird names for birds, if you want to check that out.
That's
Morning sparrow.
is that the Twitter
hashtag?
Oh, yeah. Dude, that's badass.
Yeah. So check that out. Otherwise, we got some. Let's start with a question. We have a question here on Facebook from Maureen Meehan. She asks, at what point do birds realize that they have hatched a cowbird? I don't know that they ever really realize it.
I would say never.
Yeah, if they're going to pick it out, if they're going to notice that something is up, it's going to be when that is still an egg. And some birds are able to recognize that they have a cowbird egg in their nest and do something about it, either abandon the nest and start over, or in the case of yellow warbler in particular, they will just build another level on top of the nest and just lay some more eggs on there and just basically cover up the cowbird egg so that it never hatches. But once that baby cowbird comes out of the egg, that maternal instinct of those birds clicks in, and they start feeding. I mean, they're going to stuff food in whatever bird mouth they have in front of them. And
and that's I'm sure most people have seen it, but if you haven't, just Google up cardinal feeding goldfish, and that maternal instinct, that parental instinct is so strong. There's this cute little video of I think it's a female cardinal. Stuffing food in the mouths of goldfish, and they're coming up out of the water to get fed. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, they don't notice it. I mean, that instinct is strong, and they are going to feed whatever's in front of them.
Yep.
And whichever is the loudest, in which case it is typically the cowbird. Interesting thing about cowbirds, though, most perching birds, they learn how to be a bird based on their parents. So they learn the song that their parents sing, which is why hybrid birds frequently have such screwy songs, because they're listening to their parent that may not look like them. Some birds can pick up impressions of other birds' songs if their other bird is singing nearby. But cowbirds, it's completely different. It's not learned. It's completely ingrained. And there's a switch that turns in a cowbird's brain once it's fledged that just makes it want to seek out other cowbirds. Like they'll just abandon their birth parent or the adopted parents and just go off with cowbirds. And the song that they learn, the cowbird song, is completely in their genes, hardwired, which is actually pretty amazing. And one of the reasons why we probably give cowbirds too much trouble, because they're actually really cool evolutionary specimens.
Yeah, and it's just when you start thinking about the evolution in that sense, it's almost like solving, like active problem solving. Okay, we're gonna do this, so okay, but this is a problem. All right, we'll fix that problem, and this is a problem. Well, we'll fix that problem too.
Yeah,
it's
evolution
really
finds a way.
pretty
Life finds a way.
Exactly.
In the words of Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Olivia Sothery asks, do males sing more than females? What are the different purposes of song?
That depends on species.
It depends on the species, yeah.
I think, I just saw a paper, and I didn't share it on social media, which was kind of dumb, but I'm in the middle of writing an essay and I just didn't. Anyways, it turns out that what certain clades of sparrows, so our native sparrows, so chipping sparrows and those have in common in those groups is duet singing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that. It was a Lauren Benedict shared it on Twitter. I saw.
Yeah.
There's two genuses of sparrows which were thought to be pretty closely related. It's Puaceae and Ammophila. Puaceae being Bachman sparrow, Cassin sparrow, Bottery sparrow, and Ammophila. Oh geez, that genus has been a lot of places in the last few years, but I think it's like rufous winged, rufous crowned, like southwestern desert sparrows, generally speaking. They were formerly kind of lumped together, but now have sort of been split off. But one of the things that they have in common, as you say, Greg, is duets. So male and females both sing, and they sing to each other as part of the courtship thing. And a lot
of people don't realize that northern cardinals do that.
Yeah, females sing a lot. Cardinals.
Half of what you're hearing a lot of the time is the female. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But she's not sitting up on top of your house doing it.
Yeah, exactly. When she's in a bush or something, it's hard to tell. You just assume it's the male. But what we're learning in the last couple decades, and especially in the last few years, is that there's a lot of female bird song out there that we perhaps don't know, that we're not paying attention to. And her second part of the question, what are the different purposes of song? Well, generally two or three different reasons. To set up a territory, to establish that territory, males will sing to say, this is my area, stay out, to attract a female. And I would put duetting as part of that because it's all part of the courtship display of different species.
Pair bonding.
Yeah, exactly. But those are the reasons. Those are generally the reasons why birds sing. They communicate in lots of other different ways, visually and vocally, auditorily. Sometimes not even vocally. But
Yep.
yeah, so great questions. Thank you so much, Olivia and Maureen. If anyone else has any questions that you want us to like take a crack at, please let us know in the various places. But otherwise, we're gonna jump right into these bird images that have been shared on What's This Bird. So as usual, we're gonna pull a few of the more interesting pictures, posts that people have shared in the ABA's What's This Bird Facebook group. And we're gonna share them and talk about them. We have a lot of baby birds for you, so we'll talk a lot about weird looking baby birds. One quick question from Jimmy Chow, Jimmy Wu. He asked, "Do we know when the AOS proposals this year are voted on?" They have already been voted on.
Yes.
They will announce them on the 30th. I believe the 30th is the day that those are going to go. So we're currently embargoed. I do actually know.
We are.
Yeah, I do know what they voted on. I do know their results. I can't tell you till the 30th, and I won't tell you.
I'm not pishing. I'm shushing.
Shushing. So look for that.
And also,
look for that here on the ABA's website.
Yes, and also something to look for on the ABA's website that'll be part and parcel of that is our mid-year ABA checklist committee update.
Usually
so
sort of related.
Those, yes, and so so look for that on our website as well. There's some new species added to the checklist this year.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So I see your question, Maureen. We will address that in a little bit. First, Greg and I are going to tackle some of these images that we've shown up. Greg sent all of these to me. He did all the work for me this time, which I really appreciate. One less thing to worry about while we're doing this. So let's go to it. We have a photo of a bird from Cedar Mountain, North Carolina.
This one, all right. This is a great example of a first impression fake out.
Yes.
And because when you glance at this bird, the first thing you notice is that it's cute. And it's got kind of a short, stubby bill.
Even.
Yeah, it's got kind of a short, stubby bill, and you see some spotting here and what looks like some spotting on the upper breast. And it's kind of gray, and your first snap impression for many people is baby bluebird. This is a fledgling bluebird.
Looks like off the cuff.
But it's not. And since it's from your neck of the woods and you're really familiar with this plumage, what is it?
Yeah. Well, this is a bird that causes a lot of people trouble when they go up into the mountains in the western part of the North Carolina, up in the Appalachians, because this is a bird that you usually don't associate with summer in my part in North Carolina. And this is, of course, a baby, recently fledged, dark-eyed Junco. So things that we're looking at here is that generally kind of slate color all over, and you can actually see the white in the tail feathers on the outer edge.
Always a giveaway.
Yeah, when you see Juncos fly away, you know this from when you see them at your feeders in the winter. They have that real classic, very distinctive tail pattern where it's the center feathers are dark and they've got the outer feathers are white, bright white. So you see that as they fly away. You can actually see that in this bird. And man, Juncos always give people who are not ready for them in the western part of North Carolina trouble, because they do breed up there in the higher elevations.
Yep.
Along with some other kind of classic boreal species like hermit thrush and several different warblers. But yeah, Juncos are up there too. And when they sing, it throws you off. And when they fledge and they show these little babies, it throws you off. But yes, baby dark-eyed Junco. I have a question from at Dalton, Mexico on Periscope. Are ducks considered a type of bird? I'll let you handle that one, Greg.
Well, thunder just crashed outside as I was getting ready to answer that.
The answer is.
So I think that was a sign for me to put the snark away.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, ducks are birds.
Ducks are in fact a part of bird. And he also says, do you think a duck would make a good pet for his mom? I don't know.
No,
I
had
would
pet
generally
ducks.
say no.
If you live on a farm, like out on a farm or someplace, maybe. But I had a pet duck in an apartment
Ducks are
when I
kind of
was a
jerks,
kid,
aren't they?
and they're messy
They're really
jerks.
messy. Yeah. And they
Yeah,
need water. Like, just get chickens because they're like generally calmer and they don't
they're
need
and
water.
water ducks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would not suggest getting a duck
No,
as a gift for your mother. But this goes to show that we will answer any bird questions that come our way.
we will
We're
try.
game for all of them. All right, so we're moving to the next slide here. What do we have here? This is an image from Vanderpool, Texas. Uh, what are we looking at here, Greg? This is when I was talking about migration. This is when I'm sort of talking.
Well, yeah, and this is one where, among other things, status and distribution is important. So
S and
we'll just
D.
kind of we'll kind of cut to the chase here. This is a water thrush, which is one of the terrestrial warblers, wood warblers, um, and there's a few things happening here. One is this bird's habitat, this clear running stream, which is
Good
very
point.
typical.
Good point. Good point.
One species of water thrush. Um, but this bird has all the classic field marks of a Louisiana water thrush. We see the unmarked white throat, the very clean streaks on the breast and the flank has a buffy patch
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
is easily noticeable, and that brilliant white supercilium, the
Yeah.
eyebrow
Big white.
stripe, and a kind of a big bill. Um, but the important part is that in June, the only water thrush you would expect to find anywhere in Texas would be a Louisiana,
Yes.
because northern water thrush is a boreal breeding species that nests much further north.
Yes, and a lot of things that one of the things that people may not know about Louisiana water thrushes is that they are extremely early migrants, and that is true in the
Yes.
spring when they start arriving in on their breeding grounds, at least in the southeast part of the continent, in February, at the end of February, and that goes for in the fall too. Like they will start leaving late June, uh, July. They are usually gone by the end of August, gone from the country by the end of August. They are very early migrants.
Yep.
So S&D is one of the status and distribution, really a useful clue when looking at water thrushes, migratory water thrushes, especially in the early part of migration, as this one is. Yeah,
Yep.
Louisiana water thrush.
And even though it's obstructed by the camera controls, don't get me started. You can still
Backup
see this
camera
bird has
shot.
bright pink legs.
Yeah, pink legs. Nice bubble gum
Another
pink
another
legs.
field mark of Louisiana water thrush.
Um. All right. So we do have a question from Facebook, and we will go ahead and tackle that one before we move on.
Sure.
Maureen Meehan says she has started feeding crows. The blue jays and robins are mobbing them. The bird feeder's on a wire between two trees, and she is feeding the crows on the railing. Should you stop feeding the crows? She doesn't want anyone to get hurt. Yeah. I mean, there is a hierarchy of perching birds, of any birds, and crows are smack in the middle of that hierarchy in the sense that they will mercilessly mob raptors, but they in turn will be mercilessly mobbed by smaller birds. That is pretty much life as a crow, right there. So as long as the crows don't seem to be bothering it too much, I would go ahead and keep feeding them if you enjoy having them around. They are kind of cool birds to observe. They're really smart
Yeah.
and they're kind of fun. But the blue jays and robins are probably not going to hurt them too much. They're going to kind of let up because they don't want to get too close either, because the crow might snatch one up
Yeah.
and eat it if it gets too close. So that's entirely up to you, but I wouldn't worry too much. Their crows are pretty hardy birds and are none likely to take a beating from a blue jay or a robin. Though it is an interesting bit of bird behavior that you're observing there.
Yeah.
I'm going to send this other question. I didn't have time to throw the location. I think this is a bird that was taken in Florida. Do you want to talk a little bit about that,
Sure. It
Greg?
is. Yeah, that one is from Florida. Um, and this, so there's a few things you notice here. It's a small passer, and you can tell by the branch it's sitting on that it's a small bird and the leaves and everything. A couple of things we can see right away: the rather thick bill with a little hook at the tip, and the and the other thing is the gray feet, the gray
Mm-hmm.
legs and feet. Those two characteristics are almost unique to our Vireo species. Um, and we kind of could see some yellow underneath and some wing bars, a little bit of a facial pattern. Um, all of this suggestive of one species, but it's got dark eyes. And the
Yep.
species that's where it's suggestive of is white-eyed vireo, which is a
Yeah, this
real
is a
crisp, kind of almost bright bird that's got it's got this glaring white eye with these
mhm.
bright frames around it. But this is a young one. This is a fledgling or a little older than a fledgling, immature white-eyed vireo that hasn't had its eyes turn white yet, and the plumage fully come in yet.
Yeah, and this is kind of a classic late summer, early fall kind of identification uh, issue. You know, a lot of people are pretty familiar with white-eyed vireos. They're loud. They respond to pitching really well. You can get them to come out, and you see that bird. It's got the yellow eyebrow, the yellow on the sides, the big white eye. The adult birds are pretty noticeable. You're not too difficult to identify. But these young birds with the dark eyes, they always throw people, and it's good to sort of be aware of the fact that if you're seeing this bird in a place where you typically see those adult white-eyed vireos, that this is young white-eyed vireo is an option.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll move down to this next image. Greg, you sent me this one from California.
Yeah.
I love this
I
one.
love this one.
This is a good one.
It is.
Yeah.
When I first saw that, I was like, what the? Like,
Yeah, I'm
I,
even gonna try and blow it up a little bit here.
yeah, I blew it up. Then I threw it into Photoshop and blew it up to
Yeah,
just make sure what I was looking at.
there we go. That's a little better. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So what are we looking at here? It's got that crazy yellow part on the top of its
Well,
head. What's going on there?
it's got a yellow crown. I mean, and yellow. It's got like a yellow crown,
You know what
and
this looks like? If I didn't know that it was in California, I'd think it was some sort of like Australasian honey eater.
well, exactly. And if you look in the comments on this post, somebody mentioned that it's feeding on a flower that's native to Australia.
Mm-hmm. Even better.
And um, but and the thing that's also really kind of really a fake out with this bird is that once you sort of like sleuth through what you're looking at and what's happening, it's engaging in a behavior that you never think of this species ever doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this is a juvenile European starling,
Yeah.
and the reason it's yellow is because it's been feeding on the nectar in these flowers, and it
Yeah.
has pollen all over its head.
If I recall correctly, that is actually a really common thing in Southern California in particular, because they
Okay.
have so many of those ornamental trees and eucalyptus and things like that, and they like birds that feed on those flowers constantly get pollen all over their head. They get like sticky sap on their face that causes them to have like these big weird black spots all over their faces. Yeah, if you're in a place with a lot of ornamental trees, this is the sort of thing that you're going to see. Common
See
birds
here
looking
being
weird because of that.
Yeah, I mean, here being a Chicago boy, I more quickly expect a juvenile starling with a Portillo's French fry stuck to its head than pollen. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. But that's a great image, and young European starlings oftentimes throw people too. I got another question here from Facebook from Jenny, our friend Jenny Shockley. Hello, Jenny. Is time really the only way to learn the early late pattern of migrants? She doesn't see it in informational bird searches. Let's say Paul Glass did make a nice note. You can filter eBird distribution maps by month, and you can kind of see that stuff. But I mean, learning status and distribution, it is one of those things that bird books do. If it's an important thing, bird books will include it. But for the most part, that's a sort of it's a very much an experience thing. Like you will learn it. The longer you bird, you will get a better sense of when and where birds are going to show up, and that is a very useful tool in your toolbox.
Well, yeah, and if you dig around in the eBird tools, you can check out the bar charts, which show in taxonomic order species arrivals, departures, and when they're present in a given location.
Yeah.
But you can also click through to line graphs and compare up to 5 species in a line graph. And when you compare things like the water thrushes, for instance, you get a really nice graphic explanation of the differences in their migration patterns.
Looks like we're having a little bit of trouble with Facebook. I'm going to refresh this.
That's a nice look that's frozen there. That's good.
Yeah, there it goes. All right, so it's working again. That was kind of weird. Okay, so we're back as far as I know.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody heard. I don't know where we got stuck, but we were talking about eBird and checking out the bar charts and line graphs, and that's a great way to learn about status and distribution and migration timing.
Yeah, I'm gonna remind people if they can't, if they're getting frozen, if you see any freezing, whatever, looks like it's a Facebook issue. Go ahead and refresh your browser, and that usually does the trick. That's what I did. I just did, and it seemed to work pretty well. I just put that note. And as Grace Jacobson asks, are we recording this session for later playback? We are recording it. You can always check these out at our YouTube channel, which is YouTube Birding Online, or just search American Birding Association, and you can find us there. All of these old What's This Bird stuff will be there. That's usually the best place to kind of keep these things. Even though I know not a ton of people watch us on YouTube while we're doing this, but it's a good place to archive all these threads. So definitely check it out there. And if you want to go back and watch old What's This Birds with Greg and I don't know why you would want to do that, but there's many hours of content there. Shannon Harkness has a question. Is it true that if you have brown thrasher in your area that you will likely not see cardinals? I don't know that that's true. I typically associate those two birds with very similar habitats, especially down where I live in the southeast. They're both, pretty regular birds of very brushy, kind of overgrown field kind of habitats, or even in kind of neighborhoods with a lot of ornamental shrubs and whatnot. They're both there. So maybe it's maybe that's a status and distribution thing. Maybe that's a local piece of information.
Yeah, I mean, I've never noticed that to be the case.
Yep. All right, I'm going to throw another image up. We'll move to the next one. This one was it from Arizona?
I think it's from Arizona.
Arizona.
Well, I can tell by looking at the bird it's Arizona or Colorado.
Yeah. All right, so we love talking about baby birds. We got another baby one here just out of the nest. So what are we looking at, Greg?
And what we should have done is had another image that compared the other the first image
right.
to this one.
I was set that up that way.
It just we got on the air here with literally 2 seconds to spare because Skype and Microsoft. Anyway, so just to cut to the chase, I think most people will get this one pretty quick because of the very noticeable white undertail feathers there, the outer the white outer tail feathers, not undertail, sorry. It's a dark-eyed junco.
But a different subspecies than the one we looked at earlier. I can throw back to that one real quick. Yeah, so this is the slate-colored dark-eyed. Actually, this is the one that is the subspecies carolinensis, the Carolina breeding one, which is different than the slate-coloreds that we have in the southeast in the winter. This is our southern Appalachian breeding subspecies, which actually has a gray bill instead of a pink bill. So there you go, a little more status and distribution. Whereas this bird right here is I don't know which one it is, but it's one of the I don't know the western subspecies of Junco very well, but it's one of
I think it's red-backed.
red-backed. Yeah, well, you can even see the red back here on the image
Yeah.
on the image on the right. Yeah, so
And the dark,
red-backed.
you'll see this, the dark lores, the streaking and the rufous back
Mm-hmm.
give it a very different look from the other Junco. Yeah, there
Yes.
you go.
Yeah, that black face there too. Some really cool Western Juncos for sure. If we had Ted Floyd on this call, he would have a treatise on the various subspecies of Juncos. I know
Yes,
that's
he
one of his
would.
favorite things. So yeah, feel free to drop us any questions or comments or pictures in the various comment sections that we are, visiting you through. We'd be happy to take a crack. We'll even do some high wire bird identification if it comes to it. But that
Yeah,
is
it
the
looks
last of the questions that I have. Greg, were there anything else?
No, I don't see. It looks like my watch party has started back up. I think it froze for a little bit,
Yeah, that's Facebook
but
for
I
you.
see people now back joining back up again. Um, but I don't see any questions as of yet on
All right,
my
I'm gonna
feed.
I'm gonna grab a couple. I'm gonna grab one that was just. Let me see here. Ooh, this is a cool one. Wait, that's not an identification. I'm gonna have to delete that one. Oh shoot, I'm in the wrong group. That's why. I'm in some other weird. Like, why is no one asking for
So while
identifications
so while
in this
Nate is
group?
while Nate is searching, a couple of things to keep in mind that if you enjoy these and everything else you should consider joining the ABA. And among other reasons for joining is things like member discount. We have a 30% discount offered by uh, Princeton University Press, and I believe a 15% discount on um, the Cornell Birds of the World resource, which is amazing. And back when we were talking about status and distribution, that is a treasure trove of information that also has molt information, molt timing,
A lot of good stuff there.
a lot of
Absolutely.
really good stuff there.
Oh, I thought we could put images in the comments for Facebook, but unfortunately you cannot, which is why Connie Dalva excuse me, Connie Dalva Higgins is having trouble doing so. We do have some questions in here. Well, let's grab some of these questions.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Chris
I don't.
Ortega asks, can you guys provide a little info on the feelings between the birding and falconry communities? I don't have too much of an opinion on that one.
Usually, I think it's falconry exists, um, and it's kind of and it's cool. I think the only time there's any kind of a head knocking is when a bird is taken, a young, and it's almost always a young gyrfalcon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And around here, we get a young gyrfalcon every year or two or three, and there are falconers in the area that will trap those birds and take them. But which is, of course, they're perfect. They're absolute legal right. They're permitted, and I believe that they just take the birds and work with them for a year or two and then release them.
I think that's I think that's what happens. Yeah, and I know eBird does hide the locations of
Yeah,
gyrfalcon and a number of other species for that reason. But of course, if a gyrfalcon shows up in a place that it doesn't show up very often, that's a bird that its location is generally widely known among the local birding community or state birding community, province birding community, and yeah, I mean, personal feelings. Like, I'm not a falconer. I know falconers, and I don't necessarily have any. I guess personally, I'm pretty ambivalent about it. I don't really
yeah.
have too much of an opinion. But ask another birder, and they might have more. So that's where I stand on it. Wade Baker asks, he has a male pine warbler in his yard in West Tennessee. Is that normal? Absolutely is normal. I was out on a walk this morning and I heard a number of pine warblers. They're still around, still singing. Although they're putting a lot of babies out that are very confusing. As if you spend
Yeah.
any time on the What's This Bird group, you'll see people ask a lot about juvenile fledgling pine
And
warblers.
and in the mid South and South, depending on the winter, they're pretty much year round residents.
They are. Yeah, they're a very early. They're one of the birds that starts singing in late February as well across much of the southeast. We have a question from Rosemary Meredith. She asks, "Do praying mantises eat hummingbirds, or is that a myth?"
No, they do.
I've seen the pictures, so it does happen. Typically, it is not our native hummingbird, not our native mantises.
Correct.
Our the regular praying mantis that you may think is not a very big insect. It's only a couple inches long, but we do have these mantises from East Asia, called Chinese mantis, typically that can be upwards of 6 to 7 inches long, and they are big enough to take a small hummingbird. And they do from time to time. It's not terribly common, but it does happen from
Yeah.
time to time.
And yeah, and there, I've also seen, just as a bit of a tangent, I've also seen video of a greater roadrunner staking out a hummingbird
Yeah.
feeder in Arizona,
Yeah, I've
and
seen
just
one
like
too.
have you seen it where it
Yeah.
leaps straight up in the air and grabs a
Yeah,
hummingbird
they're
straight out of the air?
crazy. Those things are
They're crazy.
velociraptors. That's the
They
closest
are.
thing we have. Yeah.
They-
Grace Jacobson asks where we are located. I am in Greensboro, North Carolina, and Greg is Chicago born and bred.
Berwyn, Illinois, which
Berwyn.
is
Or is it
just,
Berwyn?
yeah. No, it's Berwyn, but we are winning. It's a collar suburb of Chicago, just 9 miles from downtown.
Yeah. So I'm from North Carolina. I'm in North Carolina, and Greg's in Chicago area.
Yep,
Garrett
Chicago.
Kamasi asks, describe the difference between the calls, I assume you mean songs, of the American robin, scarlet tanager, and rose-breasted grosbeak. I mean, I can try.
Boy, that's. I mean, the tanager kind of sets apart because it's the most of those three. It's the most different.
Yeah.
It's slow. It's burry.
Yeah.
It's hoarse. And they usually will interject their call note in between.
Yeah.
So that rose-breasted grosbeak and American robin. I mean, American robin
typically does quick groups of three, right? So
Yeah.
Chirp, chili, chirp, chili, chirp. It's like a really fast red-eyed vireo in some senses. And,
Yeah.
American robin also does a lot of its call note, which is kind of a chuckle.
Yep.
In between, mixed up in there as well. But, yeah, I think of American robin as being like the shortest song of those. And then
Yes.
Scarlet Tanager, and then Rose-Breasted Grosbeaks will go on for a little bit.
Rose-breasted grosbeaks just don't shut up. They're
Yeah.
just lazy sitting up there, just blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Won't even take a breath.
No,
Yeah, so in terms of like speed, I would say robin, tanager, grosbeak. And then you can throw summer tanager into that as well if you want it to be really nuts. But, for the most part, robin is the slowest and rose-breasted grosbeak is the quickest. But they are all very similar. And if you are interested in learning
Here we
those
go.
vocalizations, we check out the Larkwire app.
yes,
It's a little expensive as far as apps go, but it does do a
worth
great
every
job.
penny.
It does do a great job kind of training you to recognize a lot of those very similar songs. So, that kind of warbly, swirly, cheery song like Robins and Summer Scarlet Tanager or Rose-Breasted Black-Headed Grosbeak, they're all very similar. Those are traditionally very difficult songs to tell apart.
Mm-hmm.
And, it will do a good job kind of training you on there. So check that out. I think it's
It
only
is worth
available
every
for
penny.
Apple products, only iOS. But it
Yep.
is good, and I would say it's been a couple times since we've got a chance to
I know.
plug it. So thank you once again. So everybody who is waiting for the Larkwire app, have a drink. Larkwire app reference.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're playing our bingo cards, we finally got to Larkwire.
Let's see here. Brian Tinker says Tanager is a robin with a sore throat, and the grosbeak took singing lessons. There you go. That's pretty
There
good.
you go.
I'll take it. Yeah. Jenny Shockley suggests that we can't post images on the video chat, but you can throw it on What's This Bird, and we can grab it there. Absolutely. Tim
Yeah.
Callback posts a link. I'm gonna follow it. It's a bunting, a female bunting. Then I'm gonna copy the image and throw it up here so we can have a look at it. You may have seen it, Greg. Switching over, I know there's a little bit of lag. If you're watching on
Yeah.
Facebook, you can check it out there.
I don't see anything yet, but it'll pop up in a
It's a
moment or two.
female bunting. The photo was taken in somewhere out west. Hold on. Let me pull that up. I'm going to open that in a new tag. Sorry, you guys can see all that. So it's in New Mexico, Dripping Springs, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Should be up there now if you want to take a look at it, Greg.
Yeah, I
But
see it.
the identification in the stream was varied bunting. I don't, know those kind of Western buntings super well, but I don't see anything on it that would cause me to doubt that identification that Tim made.
I agree.
Yeah, varied bunting is pretty good. They would be. I would expect we one maybe. Well, lazuli would be the other, potentially expected bunting
Yeah,
out there,
I think
but that which is very pale. Lazuli is very pale and looks
and
quite
it
a
has
bit
a
like an
smaller
indigo.
bill. It doesn't.
Yes.
It is a
Yeah.
smaller bill without the curved culmen, um, and that grayish blue, that kind of steely color that we can just see
Hmm.
on the upper part of the tail,
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit on the shoulder, maybe a little bit on the crown,
Yeah.
and the gray kind of heavy bill.
Hmm.
Uh, just yeah, it all the gestalt of this bird is all varied bunting.
I would trust that. And speaking of varied bunting, Colorado just got its very first record of varied bunting this week up in Ouray
Yeah,
County.
really nice accidental pickup.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Connie de Alva Higgins asks, how can you find the difference between a female Baltimore Oriole and a female Orchard Oriole? That's a good
Well,
question.
the
Do you have
the
a
biggest,
an
well, the
image?
biggest difference I don't handy. The biggest difference is that Orchard Orioles are yellow and green,
Mm-hmm.
and Baltimore's are yellow and orange,
Mm-hmm.
and there's really they're just different colors.
Yeah.
They're also different sizes,
Yeah.
and there's a big difference in size.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that Orchard is often confused with a warbler
Yes.
when people see it, and Baltimore almost never is.
That's correct. Yeah, Orchard Oriole is a very small, slender Oriole. Did I say? I said Orchard Oriole, right? I didn't say
Yeah,
Orchard.
you did.
Orchard Oriole is a real slender Oriole, real skinny, and the bill is kind of long and very decurved, and it's sort of much more obvious. When I look at a
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore Oriole, I mean, they're chunky, they're a big bird, bigger than a cardinal, towhee sized, kind of fat and round, with the tail feels shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Orchard has a very long tail, and yeah, so I mean, it's a feel sort of thing, like a gestalt sort of thing. But those are the things I'm looking for. And as Greg said, more green in Orchard Oriole, more orange in a Baltimore Oriole. Yeah, Sarah Hobart just posted a warbler species on What's This Bird. I'm gonna have a look real quick, and maybe we can throw it up as well. Hold on, let me refresh that browser. Bear with us while we do this totally live while we are walking on a tightrope. Sorry, I'm looking for that image.
And let's not forget that we were going to talk about bird names before we get off here.
Oh yeah, you have any opinions about that one? Okay, I got it. I got Sarah Hobart's image. I'm gonna pull it up, and I know what it is. We can talk. Boy, I think I know what it is. Okay, it's from Arcata, Cal. Yeah, I do know what it is. All right. All right, hold on. Pulling it up, and I'm switching it over. Greg, you can.
It'll be a minute for me.
It'll be a minute because you're watching on the stream.
Yeah.
But what I'm looking at is a warbler in Arcata, California. I'm going to try and blow this picture up a little bit bigger. So we're thinking California warblers.
Well, except for vagrants, there's not a whole lot to choose from.
Yeah. Tim Callback says Orchard Oriole looks bluish and dipped ink black tip. He's talking about the bill. Yeah, orchard warbler does have a very bluish looking bill. Ooh, and Tavi Duprix has a question on Periscope that I'm going to answer once we're finished with this bird. So hang with us there. So this bird, very plain, open face, obvious eye ring, kind of small bill, very yellowy.
Yep.
Nashville.
What's your call on that?
Nashville warbler is what I would go with.
Yeah, I could see Nashville warbler.
It's a juvenile bird, or it's a heavy.
Well, why not a fledgling hermit?
I don't know. Is that up there?
I don't have a book. I don't have a book in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a breeding bird there or not.
Arcata, California is up in Northern California. Way Northern California. Okay, maybe hermit. I go with hermit. I could see hermit on that one. But those western Nashvilles, what they call Calaveras warbler, are a little bit different than the ones we get in the east.
Absolutely.
But, so that's our way of punting, I guess. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Sarah. I'm not sure about this bird. Perhaps people in the comments would take a crack at it as well. But my first impression is Nashville, but I could be proven wrong. I could be.
So Annie Martinet in my feed.
Fledgling yellow could be fledgling yellow. That pine tree though. Pine tree looks a little weird.
But I mean, again, that's
I don't think of yellow warblers and pine trees.
That's subjective, but that's so subjective. Yeah. There could be a willow grove right behind there, and the bird just happened to fly up into the one pine tree.
Yeah.
Annie Martinet has a question. Annie, I just want to just say we can't in the feed. I can't see the picture, so if you could put that up in the "What's This Bird" group, if you're a member there, or if not, I don't know how we can get it to you quickly, Nate.
You can Slack it to me if you want. I will answer.
Well, I don't have it. I don't have it. Annie's going to have to send it to us somehow. But she says she's a wild bird rehabber, and she gets kestrels and peregrines and other raptors. But she's got a bird that she found in a busy downtown area, and she doesn't know what it is, and I can't see the picture. So,
where is this?
Well, it's in the watch party feed, and you can't put pictures in the watch party.
Oh, right on. Okay. Feed. All right. Well, I'm gonna go for at Tavi Dubrix's question. He says, with eBird updating the My eBird section, it has me wondering what the change we would most like. Change to My eBird. I would like eBird to update the ABA area so it includes Hawaii.
That would be a big one. That would be a big one.
I've been waiting for my top 100 total ticks for a long time. I would love to see that. Total ticks top 100 for my state.
Yeah. I don't have any real I don't have anything really to say about eBird in terms of what I'd like to see my eBird do or look like. I mean, it's the tool as I use it is just fine.
Yeah. Right, fair enough. Thank you for the question. Okay, so Connie, was it Connie that sent you the question?
Annie.
Okay, so this is different. So Connie just sent a question to the American Birding Association Facebook page. So I'm going to have a look at it real quick. She sent the image of the Oriole, and oh my goodness, I understand why she doesn't know what it is. Hold on, I'm going to throw it up.
Okay.
I think it's an orchard, but we can talk about it. All right. It's coming over to you. I'll vamp for a little while we wait for Greg to catch up. All right, so thank you, Connie, for finally getting that bird. Brian Tinker says eBird top 100, but for media content. Yeah, that'd be cool. I love a top 100. I'll tell you. Jenny Shockley says doesn't understand the ABA ticks. So ABA ticks is all of your state lists added together. So if you have 100 birds in Connecticut, 100 birds in New York, 100 birds in Rhode Island, then your total ticks are 300. So it's just all your state lists added together. And state total ticks is all your county lists added together. So I live in North Carolina. We have 100 counties. If I had however many birds in Wake or Guilford or Alamance or whatever, add those all together, take that number, that's total ticks.
So just to, I'm looking at the Oriole now, but just to Nate, give you a heads up, Nate, in our Slack conversation, I dropped a picture
Yep.
of this baby raptor.
Yep. I'll put it in the next slide.
And so the Oriole, yeah, I can see why that would be kind of problematic. And I think this looks like an orchard to me.
That was my guess too. Yep.
I see green on the head instead of gray. You see that little bit of what looks like red or rufous or rust right here. Two things with Orioles. One, as they age, they start to get colors and they start to look weird. But also as females age, they start to take on some characteristics of males, especially Baltimore Orioles.
Yes, that's right. And I would also go with orchard and for this bird for the same reasons. It definitely does feel kind of more slight. It doesn't look as chunky, especially in the chest, as I would expect a Baltimore to look. The head to body size appears to be more orchardy, and the bill is darker. I think this is a young male orchard Oriole.
And Baltimore also tends to have some white or gray on the belly.
Yeah.
Whereas orchard is kind of yellow underneath, which is why it's so often confused with a warbler.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go up to this falcon. If you're watching on the stream, you've already seen it a little bit. But it looks like a baby falcon. I think that's a kestrel.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the only real thing we know it's a falcon because of the notch on the bill.
Yep.
And the tail pattern.
I suppose it could be Merlin.
I don't know if Josh Engel is I haven't seen him on here. He would know. He's handled peregrines at this age. Mm-hmm. But I think the tail pattern fits better for kestrel with the wide band at the end.
Yeah. Birds at this age are really, really difficult because they all sort of look the same. Until those feathers start coming in, it's hard to get any sort of feature on them. So you just kind of take what you can. And in this bird, it's pretty much just the juvenile feathers there at the tail and maybe the dark wingtips, but I don't know how useful those would be as well. Yeah, baby kestrel is my guess as well. Mm-hmm. All right, if you have any other questions about birds or bird identification or any of that, please let us know in the comments. Otherwise, we are coming up on about an hour, so we are probably going to call it a day. I've got to go blow up a swimming pool for my daughter, so the sooner I get to that, I guess, the better. But so leave us any questions. Otherwise, we are going to call it an afternoon. You can find all this stuff at ABA's various social media whatnots. If you want to watch this again or looking at those images again, you can check them out on YouTube. Probably the best place to find those.
If you go to our YouTube, you go to our ABA Live page. So it's aba.org/live. And then click on the YouTube logo. That'll take you to our YouTube channel where you can see all of these sessions of Nate and I yakking at each other and other things. There's some really good virtual bird clubs presentations, and the one from last night.
Yeah,
last night's presentation was excellent.
John C. Robinson, very good.
I've got to sit down and watch that one. I was running around doing other things while that was going on, just making sure that everything was working and not really listening to what was being said. I need to focus on that.
People want to hear about our opinions on bird names. I think we kind of teased it all the way to the end, and then we didn't do it. I got opinions. I got thoughts.
Yeah, I got opinions.
I don't like honorific eponyms, like Cooper's hawk, Wilson's phalarope, Audubon's shearwater, etc. I don't think they're particularly useful as common bird names, And some of those people were engaged in, even at the time, would have been known as sort of problematic behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
McCown of Longspur fame was a Confederate officer. So he fought in the Civil War on the wrong side. John Kirk Townsend, who has a warbler and a, what else does he have? Warbler, shearwater, solitaire.
Yep.
He has a lot of things named after him. He was a grave robber, like robbed the graves of Native American tribes and sent their skulls back east. Audubon did a little of that too. In this time where we're sort of reevaluating the way that we think about our past and our nation's history, I just think it's time to kind of do away with those eponyms and come up with better bird names. Common bird names are for us as birders. Like, we use them as tools to teach people about birds, to get them excited about birds, to learn about birds, their behaviors, their habitats. Having your name saddled with a dead ornithologist doesn't really do a lot. And besides, those names are a lot of times going to persist in the scientific name. So there is some continuity there. It's not like we're completely shifting them. So that's my opinion on bird names. I would like to see some of them change. I'd like to see all of them change because, regardless of whether the person named after him was a good dude or not, I don't see the point of having them. So I think better bird names are a great idea. Yeah. Holly Miner asks, why do hybrids not count towards life lists? We can answer that after. Take your opinion on bird names, Greg, if you have.
Well, I pretty much agree with you 100%, and this is something that we have talked about on and off for quite a while, and especially McCown's Longspur, which has been discussed for quite some time. And no, I mean, there's really no good reason. There are some species that are actually named after people who, recently discovered species named after the people who really did the hard work in determining that was a species, doing the field work and writing the paper or taking part in writing the paper to describe the species. But a lot of them, the names are just given out sort of as a trophy or a favor. It's like, okay, that person funded my trip out to collect birds, so I'm going to name 3 of them after him.
Yeah, McGillivray of the warbler is named after a Scottish naturalist who never even stepped foot in North America. Like, why? What are we doing here?
So we were talking today about Harris's sparrow. Yeah. Personally, I think
that's a crazy story, by the way, how it got it.
Yeah. I think Hudsonian sparrow would be good.
Nuttall gave it the name mourning finch. He called it finch back then, but mourning sparrow I think it's a good name.
Sure.
It's got a mourning hood. It's like a mourning warbler almost. Yeah, I mean that story is crazy because Nuttall discovered it and called it mourning finch. And then I may be getting this wrong. Rick Wright is going to send me a message, and he's going to tell me.
I can hear him typing right now.
But Audubon named it after Harris, his friend Harris, who supposedly did notice that it was different. But but Nuttall named it first, and so he got to give it the scientific name, so priority in scientific names. But for the common name, the only reason Audubon's name stuck is because Audubon was more famous than Nuttall, and so when he published it in his book, he was the one that got to give it its name, because Audubon was a big deal and Nuttall was not. So, I mean, the reasons for these names are so arbitrary. It's I think taking a fresh look at them is a good idea, even if it wasn't something that we were. Even if it wasn't something we were looking at because of, we're sort of looking at the way we think about them.
No, and I like names that are useful or suggestive in terms of geographic range, habitat or habit. There's some of the ones that come to mind. Wandering Tattler, I think that's a fantastic name.
Yeah,
that is just it's a fantastic name.
More birds should wander, I think.
Yeah, and there's quite a few like that. And yeah, so the honorifics.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our opinion. So you waited till the end. If you waited all the way to the past the hour mark, you finally got our opinions on that. But as I said, the conversation is ongoing. It's actually pretty active over on Twitter. If you're interested,
Yes,
hashtag
definitely.
bird names for birds, and you can get a lot of that discussion. But otherwise, I'm going to say goodbye. It's after 2 o'clock where I am, and we will catch you all, if not next week, then definitely the week after. Hope you all have a great afternoon and evening. And we will say, if you enjoy these sorts of programs, please join the ABA, aba.org/join.
Yes. Good to see you,
Otherwise,
Nate.
I'll see you, Greg, and I'll see everybody else who is watching. Thanks, folks. Have a good day.
See you later.